T minus 50 seconds. T minus 40 seconds. T minus 30 seconds. T minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet.
Hey! Welcome to Women's Wrestling Talk, the #1 women's wrestling show on the planet. Happy Women's History Month. And I feel like every day is Women's History because we're Women's Wrestling Talk. So, today is no exception. We're talking ring announcers and the life of ring announcers. So I have 3, because you do ring announcing too, right, Ayla?
Yes, that's Shine Wrestling only, yes.
Yeah.
And the WWT 4.
She said, I only do it for certain people, so please don't call. She's like, only.
Alyssa knows. I'm like, why, please? I like it, but it's also a lot of pressure. We'll obviously get into that. It's a lot of make sure you hit everything.
We'll get into that pressure as well. So then we have 2. Every single one of you guys have been guests on the show, which is crazy. And now here we are. So one of them is Brittany. You know what? I'm not even going to try to laugh. It's been a day.
You are. Look, there's a reason that I was going by Brittani Nikole, which is my middle name for the longest time, was because my last name is just people be like, and Brittany, here's Brittany. This is Brittany.
You changed your social media too. It was Brittani Nikole at one point, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. It's just so many people started just calling me by my Brittani Houghtlen, and that I was like, okay, I'm just gonna embrace it and do my last name because people were getting confused on who was Brittani Nikole and who was Brittani Houghtlen. So Booker T even was like, when he introduced me one time, he was like, Brittany. Like, thanks, Book.
Oh my gosh. I could appreciate it. It's just when you change the names, I'm like looking for something else. I'm like, wait a minute. Speaking of name changes.
Perfect segue.
Wait, what was your name before?
So it started as Kathy Campanelli. Well,
yes.
So Kathy Campanelli, then Kat Marino, and now Alyssa Marino. And
you know what I look for first? The cereal girl.
That's it.
Where
there's cereal, you will find me.
It doesn't pop up ever, but that's what I put in the search box, and it never pops up. And I'm like, girl, you're not gonna find her like this. So it's worth a shot.
It's worth a shot. You never know.
Right. That should be your hashtag. Seriously.
Cereal girl. I'm down.
Cereal girl. AKA the cereal girl. All right. Enough of my crazy antics of what goes through my mind. But let's get into ring announcing. It's definitely because I think when people get into wrestling and they want to be on this side of the mic, they think it's like, oh, it's just hosting or it's just this. And there's so much more to, so many other options. And I think oftentimes I've seen it a few times where people think that they can host and then they can just go and ring announce and they do a terrible job. Not gonna say who it was, but here we are.
It's hard.
So it is hard. Like, it's just like somebody who's like, oh, I'm just gonna run StreamYard and do all this, and podcasting is easy.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
No,
if you and your mom want to watch it, then yes. But if you're actually trying to do other things, it's a little different. Anyways, I'm on a little I need to drink some tea because I feel like I'm getting a little on the angry side of things. Anyways, let's get into ring announcing. how did you guys get into it? And what is the one major thing that people don't know, like what it takes to be a great ring announcer?
Brittany, you want to start?
Oh, okay. Well, my story is strange. I lied my way into the business. I straight up, I always loved wrestling. I thought I was going to grow up and become a wrestler. And then I thought of watching wrestling and watching like the main product for a while. And I moved to New Orleans from Cleveland, Ohio, moved to New Orleans, lived there, and WrestleMania 30 came to town. And I was like, oh, I still really want to work in wrestling, but I don't want to wrestle. I was like, I want to do everything that, you know, was my favorite, which was the storytelling, helping push the story. So I want to do ring announcing, commentary, interview work, you know, all of that kind of stuff. And so I was like, I'm going to find a local wrestling company and become their ring announcer, interviewer, something like that. And so I did. And they were like, have you ever done this before? And I went, yeah, yep, sure have. Sure, totally. And I trained myself. I watched Lillian Garcia. I watched, you know, Mike. I watched, actually, weirdly enough, I watched Melissa Santos, you know, because Lucha Underground was out. So, and I just kind of learned kind of trial by fire. And now I've been doing it for 7 years now, all over. So, yeah. So don't do what I don't lie, kids. But it was, but it was also
until you make it.
Right. Yeah. I did that with a lot. So it was one of those things of like, it lucked out that I was able to do it. The one thing that I would say, one of the many things, I'm sure, I hope we all touch on different subjects because there's so many different things that people don't realize about ring announcing that is tricky, is I would have to say for people that think that, for people who are either hosts or club DJs or radio hosts or anything like that, it's not a comedy set, and it's not a hosting, let you talk and banter in between every single match and put yourself over. You know, it is a get the crowd hyped, announce the matches, get everybody home happy. You're not there to you know, put yourself over and do a 30-minute comedy set, because I've seen that sometimes when I've been on commentary or just been to a show and been like, oh God. So, and I pass it down to, I don't know if it's the same on you guys, but down to Alyssa.
It is. Hello.
There it
is. Excellent. That was actually very nice.
Yeah.
Okay, so similarly, I agree with, I think there's been a lot of situations throughout my career where I've just said yes to something and then been like, oh, I'll figure it out. Like, just say yes first and then I'll figure it out. So for me, it started out with a friend and I went to a one-day tryout at Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy in Bell Gardens, California. And we said, okay, we're going to do the rolls. We're going to do bumps. We're going to be wrestlers. This is so fun. We did everything. And I was like, hey, you know what? Maybe I'll manage because I can't do this. I was like, this is a lot. This is not for me, but I want to be involved similarly.
Right.
So I think I was very lucky that Santino Brothers ended up having a class that was strictly for production managers, commentators, ring announcers, people that were photographers or doing camera work. So it was a really cool kind of all-encompassing class. I was really grateful to be part of the first one that they offered. And through that, I got my first kind of taste for ring announcing, and actually ended up doing a lot more on the kind of like commentary and backstage correspondence stuff, which I absolutely loved. Got opportunities with Championship Wrestling from Hollywood, and really got to kind of build my name. And then, you know, made the move out here to be a live event host with NXT. And then the world went wacky. So then I just kind of went back to the freelance, back to the independent scene. And I think that I was able to bring kind of everything that I learned and how to polish what I do into everything that I'm able to touch on now, which I'm very grateful to have so many cool opportunities. I think that if there's one thing that people don't realize about ring announcing is that wrestlers have maybe like 1 or 2 matches over the course of the night. You are on all night long usually. So I don't think that people realize that there's an amount of endurance that has to go into it, possibly more so with commentary, because literally you are pretty much talking the entire night. But for ring announcing, especially because you're projecting, I think that there's a bit more protection, I think, of the voice that we need to do and be conscious of, that I think people that are just coming into it might not realize. And I think it's a really important thing to kind of protect your instrument. And I'm going to pass it this way to Ayla.
Yes, thank you. That's two very good points, honestly. And I got into wrestling just, my brother, I have an older brother, we liked it. And then I never knew you could join a wrestling school. So it wasn't until I met my husband when I was like 24 and he was in a wrestling school. Then I was like, oh my gosh, all this time, I just thought you were just an actress. And then they like, oh, you'd be great to be a wrestler, type thing. And then, of course, like Alyssa, I tried to get in the ring, was like, oh, this hurts. Or my drive to be fame doesn't override the amount of pain I don't want to be in. Like these wrestlers are like in some type of pain, like most of the time. Like even if they don't look like it, something's aching. So that's not comfortable. So then that's when I, really went into like managing basically. And then ring announcing I've always done at my husband and I have a wrestling school. So there we have a show on Thursday. So I do it there just, because hey, I'm there. Of course, if someone's trained to be a ring announcer, then they'll do it. I'll like tell them like, oh, this is what I picked up and yada, yada. But really it just happened when the hiatus went on with Shine Wrestling. I was managing Big Swole and Aja Pereira, and Swole went to AEW and Aja went to WWE. And then we were coming back and he's like, oh, who could you manage? He's like, oh, could you ring announce? Because I saw you do it that couple times when you came down here. And I'm like, oh, you don't want that. My voice.
You're like,
terrible. They're like, no, it sounded good. Like it's good. And we've known each other. I've known the office of Shine for like many, many years. So it's like, they're like my friends too, in a sense. So I was like, yeah, sure. So I really like doing it. And like Alyssa said, managing, I'm out there 10, 20 minutes. Ring announcing, you're out there the whole entire show, So that's a lot. And the preparation, I think that goes into it because obviously, like, I know at the end of the day, or, I think we all know however we announce the person is like how they're going to get recognized. So everyone at the end of the day needs to build their name. So making sure you have their hometown right. And, oh, what do you want to be called? What do you want to be known for? So you could try to proactively help people that are coming up that maybe don't know. Oh, make sure you tell the ring announcer and commentator things about yourself so that you can get over. But so that part, and Alyssa's witnessed my struggle with that, and I got a new iPad specifically for the show. Alyssa, I'm not going to come with pen and paper anymore.
Wait, what's the story behind that? You can't just say that and let it.
I don't know why, but I like hate flying with laptops and stuff. And then I have like one laptop I do like a lot of editing on, and then I have another one that I just do only the accounting on. So I don't want to fly kind of with either. So I just bring my like paper and pen and just write down stuff. And then, I'm just like, it's just a mess. It's like, 1998. And Alyssa was like, it might just be worth it to, she said it all silently. Like it might be
with my eyes.
To just go ahead and bring your electronic because look at you right now. And I said, thank you. I heard all that silently, and I got
said all that with her eyes.
Yeah, so
they're very expressive.
Yeah, she was like,
"Oh my gosh, yeah, the voice." You guys did mention the voice. I did an audition for a ring announcer, and it's not for me.
Right.
It's a lie. It's a lot of projecting and then adding to it, and it's just kind of like, oh, okay, that's not my lane. That is not my lane. And then also too, I don't know if you guys do that. Like Melissa couldn't be here for you guys who are wondering. She was on the picture. She got a big job with a boxing promotion, so she's getting ready for that. Very intensive. Kudos to her for sure. But speaking of Melissa, when you see Melissa do ring announcer, she's in a nice dress, but it's tight and it's short and she's wearing heels. Can you guys tell me about like getting into the ring? Because that seems like a very balancing act, wearing heels in the ring, getting in the ring, not showing the goods to not only the TV but everybody in the audience. It seems like a situation.
Yeah. I switch back and forth between wearing a dress and wearing a jumpsuit or like some kind of pants or and a nice top. If I'm doing like a jumpsuit or nice top, I can go in through the middle rope. But if I'm wearing a dress, obviously it's the bottom rope. I try to wear a little bit more of a longer dress. At least I got junk in my trunk, so I make sure to wear a dress that at least I can bend in. Now, if I'm on commentary, that's when I'm like, oh, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be sitting down.
Right.
You pick and choose your battles with your outfits. Sometimes I show up to a show, and I also pick and choose my battles because I have had so many times where I think I'm going into a show knowing what the ring is going to be. And then I show up and they don't have stairs or they don't have anything for me to get into the ring in. And a lot of promoters don't think about the fact that the announcer or somebody has to get into the ring because they just think the wrestlers just hop into the ring. They just dive into the ring. They just climb up to the ring. And I'm like, I'm in stilettos and a mini skirt. Like, I'm not hopping up on anything. But also heel wise, I always now, especially since I have a tendency to be in rings with people who want to chase me out of them or want to, I can bump, I can wrestle. I've been trained to wrestle because in Louisiana you have to in order to be able to get into a ring. So I can wrestle, but I don't consider myself a wrestler. I can do the basics. That's about it. But it's one of those things of I always wear heels that are chunky now, that are thicker heeled, because I don't want to sink into the canvas or risk breaking an ankle or something. So yeah, it literally just depends on if I know what the ring is and I know when I'm going in, I might feel comfortable wearing a dress. If I'm going in blind, I'm pulling out a trusty jumpsuit just in case.
I think I'm definitely the same mindset. For the most part, I think I just made jumpsuits or like the edgy jeans and blazer combo, like my best friend. Yeah, so I try to that's my look. I'm just going to own that because I just have never found a way to be comfortable getting in and out of a ring like that. And especially for commentary, I've definitely done things where I've gotten off of a flight and put a blazer on and kept leggings on because I knew I was going to be at the table. So I'm like, this works out. I'm just going to be comfortable or I'm pressed for time or whatever the case may be, and made it work. But yeah, once I master the art of getting in and out of a ring in a dress of some sort, the world better watch out. But for right now, I'm sticking with pants.
I was gonna say, listen, you played safe. Every time I'm like, you know what? I should have played it a little safer. But hey, it's a risk. Luckily the cameras just aren't on us a lot. Like how Brittany was saying, it's not about us. I get out of the ring all types of crazy ways. The people in the audience, sorry. And sometimes they look like, oh my God, how's she not breaking her ankle? Because I just kind of roll and pop out. And it's so odd. But I know that the camera's not on me and I just need to get out the way. So I just kind of whatever, I'm on top rope, bottom rope. And I'm thinking shouldn't I decide this before I go out? But next time.
I think that happened with us. I was trying to hold the rope for you. And I'm like, what do you, which one? Which one do you want? I don't know. We were locked in a loop. We're I was like, hold on.
What? It happened, And
oh my God.
How you guys do commentary too, wearing so many different hats. What was the hardest to break into, I think? And also, which is your favorite?
Which one is my favorite? I mean, I really love doing commentary. I've gotten to do commentary with Alyssa here once. Just once. And it was wonderful. It was for Mission Pro. I got into commentary the same way I got into ring announcing. Someone asked me if I've done commentary before, and I said yes. Happened to be
a pattern.
It happened to be Thunder Rosa. Thunder Rosa slid into my DMs and was like, "Hey, you do commentary too," and I'm not gonna say no to her.
Right.
So I was like, "Yeah, sure." And she's like, "I've got this all women's show I'm starting. I would love for you to do lead commentary." And I was like, Sure, on it. Yep, got it. Play-by-play is my thing. So that's how that went. And then eventually I got to do commentary with Alyssa, and I've done commentary with Holodead and several other amazing people. And Mark Lawrence from WCCW, which was really, really cool. But yeah, it's, I would have to say commentary I really enjoy, but again, like Alyssa said, it's taxing. You have to, if you're doing commentary, you've got to make sure, you maybe space it out and don't have like all commentary all weekend. Like, for instance, WrestleMania weekend, if you're doing commentary that entire 4 or 5 days or whatever, you best prepare yourself some tea and some like, don't talk afterwards, like protect yourself, get some rest. Don't hit the after parties as hard.
That play-by-play is hard. That's a whole hats off to you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
It's a beast.
That's a whole. Yeah, it is.
What about you?
I always like doing color. Play-by-play is never my bag in whatever sport. Whatever you ask me, I'm going to say no. Can I do color commentary? Because I could do that. Play-by-play? No, we're not. I like piggybacking. We're good at that. Sorry, I just had to let you know.
More,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but then you still have to watch. You have to keep like, I feel like color commentary, you can kind of store watch and you can back and forth. Play-by-play, you have to be on top of it. You can't be like, oh, there's
That's
guy.
why I found myself in commentary. I would be like, you're watching it live, like over the monitor, and then you're watching like in the monitor. And then sometimes I would be like, oh, that was sick. Oh, wait, hold on. I was supposed to say something about that. And I just think it. So yeah, that's why I love managing ring announcing on the side. But what about you, Alyssa? Yeah.
So I think for me, and it's actually funny because Brittany and I actually got into this the same way, where I was asked like, "Oh, you do commentary, right?" And I was like, "Yeah," and I'd never but I figured it out. So I think for me, I get a really weird sense of like, I guess it's nervousness about being in front of the audience. So for me, for some reason, I would, instead of being a ring announcer and having to like be in front of the crowd, even for that little bit of time, even though it's not about me, I still get super nervous. So I like being able to lend my voice in different ways. So I think for me, I usually put commentary above ring announcing, but literally if I have an opportunity to do something, I'm going to do it.
Right.
Nerves be damned. But
yeah.
I think I lean more
that
toward
about
commentary.
Yeah.
I get super, super nervous.
So for somebody who's like looking into getting it definitely is a grind. I feel like wrestling compared to some other things is like it has to be a passion first, and then just kind of almost like you have to prove yourself, and then you get those opportunities. People see you, and then you get those opportunities. Now you guys are established. It's not like you don't need to lie anymore and say that you've done it, and you've never done it. You have done it now. Is it still a passion? Is it still a passion? Like I think what I'm trying to get at is there decent money involved, or is it more of a passion and you get a decent check? Like can you live off of it beyond the major promotions?
I mean for me, no. Not yet. I want to say not yet.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to say. I think for me, it is still a balance of, having an established career that I work in, and then working to build what I do in professional wrestling. And honestly, it is really just like a love of the art of it, and like wanting to tell these stories and wanting to, keep growing and learning from what I'm doing. Like, I think this weekend I'm doing 3 shows with commentators or on commentary, I should say. And I'm working with 2 new commentators for the first time. And I'm really excited because it's like, how am I going to bounce off of them? What am I going to learn from them? How will that help to enhance me? What can I take into my next events and stuff like that? So I think of it from that perspective, maybe someday, but for right now, it is still like a little bit of a juggling act.
Yeah. And I agree. It's just like wrestlers, we're not a lot of us on the independent scene are making, especially for ring announcing and commentary and whatnot, because there is even more finite spaces than wrestlers. And a lot of promotions also do not necessarily want to foot the bill to pay for a ring announcer or a commentator or, you know, a backstage interview or anything like that. Because either they can't or they're like, we really can't fly in a ring announcer every time. You know, they're looking mostly for local people that they can bring in, you know. And when I first started out, it was one of those things of, I told a lot of people, they're like, why don't you work in, you know, here or there? And I'm like, well, you know, they're going to choose, like, they can either spend this money on me or they can spend that same amount of money and bring in a wrestler and have another match or have a more, you know, and get, you know, somebody's friend who can say people's names and put them, you know. And so my goal has been for a while now is talking with other promoters and stuff like that, being a promoter myself, talking with other promoters and them being like, well, I want to better my product. I'm like, well, to better your product, you have to better everything around you. That's the referees. You can't bring just, you know, your cousin Bob from down the street and put a striped shirt on him and be like, he can count to 3, you know. You know, referees, ring announcers, commentary, you know, it all, to make it look good, you gotta find the ones that are good, and you know, that's going to cost. And so yeah, it's definitely not a living. You know, I definitely have a day job, and I love my day job, but it's one of those things of, I would love to have this as a full-time thing. You know, it would be great. So yeah, I'm going with the not yet.
Right,
Put that in the universe. Yeah.
Operative
And
word.
that's
Yes.
that's a good point you were making. Both, yes, the not yet, and also the fact that mostly, you know, it is definitely possible to make a living being an independent contractor. It is absolutely, people have done it. But it's also, just for anyone listening, just listen to, like, at the end of the day, everyone, and mostly like 80% of people are not able to make like a living off of it in the same year, let's say. Everyone's doing it for a passion, to build a name for themselves, to be able to then get that booking where you're the name that they bring in to make everyone know, oh, this is a good show because Brittany's on it. Oh, this is a good show because they got Alyssa on it, you know? And I think that even new promotions starting up, sometimes people wonder like, oh, well, how come this promotion is prosperous and this one's not so much? It's like, I think it is the promoter thinking of the sacrifice of, I've got to bring in who they know is top tier, whatever they do, so then they know that this promotion is top tier. And then that's what makes like the whole difference. But it's like everyone's just really in it for the passion, and then with hopes of, you know, making it really any way possible.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be on TV. Like, it can be independently, but it's just all passion.
I definitely pay a little bit more attention to when I see like indie products and I see commentators or ring announcers I know amongst either the pictures or the videos or stuff like that. I'm like, oh, okay, like this is not, you know, like you said, Brittany, like Bob and his friends just doing something in the backyard. Like, you know, it's like, let me pay a little bit of attention to this. So that's definitely the case for sure. For sure, Bob and his friends.
Sorry for any
but still
referees
bringing
named
new
Bob.
people's good, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, bringing new people is good, but it's also kind of bringing the people who, even though they might not know, they still have a passion for the product, versus somebody's like, you know, just pulling somebody off of the street and they have no idea what's going on.
Right.
Like, just say these names.
We've seen a couple sketchy moments, and I'm sure all of us are like, wait a minute.
So what's the prep like? So like you get called. So say for instance, you know, WrestleMania weekend or another promotion that you're gonna do, like they hit you up and they're like, we want you for Saturday. What's the prep like? Because for me, I'm thinking, okay, well, you know, they give you the list of names and then you go. But is there more? Lisa's like, I wish that was the case.
I wish they would give us.
You don't even know who's gonna actually show up.
What? Oh gosh.
Yikes. You're lucky sometimes if you get a card ahead of time or any kind
even
of
24 hours beforehand.
Even if you see someone announce, you don't know if they're gonna make it.
Card subject to change, you know. I've definitely showed up at events and been told, oh, okay, we're finalizing the card now, I'll get it to you.
I have heard that so many times.
Okay, but you roll with it because it's something that, like, it happens, you know. You're gonna have some some companies that are like, hey, we've been putting out these announcements. Maybe there'll be a last minute change, but like, no, you can go off of this. This is what we have. And you're able to, take your notes, or if you're on commentary, maybe, watch some matches and make sure that you're well-versed in everything that you need. When I first started ring announcing, I was actually researching people's ring announcements so that I way overachiever.
I did the same thing, Alyssa.
I was just so scared.
Yeah. You have to know, like, how did they say their name? Where are they from?
Yeah. Right. And I think that was something that kind of prep, I think, carries through for a professional product, I think, across the board. And I think, Brittani and Ayla can both speak to that too.
Yeah.
So
that's kind of circles back to how the paper started, TK. The cards. That's how it starts. So I'm thinking, I'm going to prepare. I'm going to, I'll go listen back to YouTube videos of the girls. And if I know them, I'll be like, hey, where are you from? How much, what do you, get the information before, type it all up, print it out, and come to the show. The card changes, and then I'm writing it down, the change. And she's like, why? And that's what, because it can change at the drop of a dime, and you could, even 10 minutes till, if something could change.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I've definitely gotten cards like as the show is starting. Like I've been given the first like 4 matches, and then they're like, okay, at intermission, we'll give you the rest of the card. Like,
no, that's stressful.
I've definitely had that happen. There's several promotions that I work with that I adore, but it's one of those things of okay, so I have, how people have this whole, like, they wear their lucky jersey for their, team or whatever, in their team wins or whatever. I have this thing where even if you send me the card, I will not, I repeat, not look at it until I'm at the show, because every time I do, it changes.
That's a good point.
Wow.
I should write that down.
Unless I'm on commentary. On commentary, then I'm like, hey, give me something. I need like a day, like at least a day before, because I do like to type up. I have on my phone, I have a thing called Evernote, and I have lists of people's announcement. Anyone I've ever announced in the past 7 years, I have programmed into this thing. Yeah. And it's like my WrestleDex. It's like a Pokedex for wrestlers. It's my WrestleDex. And I also put in my commentary notes. And if I get new ones from people, when I ask them, like, okay, what do you want me to say about you? I add that in at a later date, just so I have stuff up to date. Sometimes people's announcements change. They either change their gimmick, change their name. The weight changes a lot depending on who they're wrestling. For a lot of guys, they'll come up to me and I'll be like, well, okay, what do you want to weigh in at? And they're like, well, what's he weighing in at?
Yep.
And I'm just like,
oh my gosh.
You're like, can I just give me an answer, please?
Doesn't matter. You're still winning. I don't get it. What do you? You have to fit him and be bigger.
Oh my gosh.
I've been lucky enough to work with Alyssa, and her notes are like, it sounds like you guys are doing the same exact thing, because I'll listen to the ring announcement, but I'm not looking up the history and stuff. And the wrestlers, sometimes they're coming in on their flights, may have been delayed, they may be rushed, and you may need to ask them something. And sometimes it's actually good for the ring announcer to go to the commentator, because they have done so much research, to say, do you know exactly where this person's from? Because they probably do. And I've used Alyssa as a resource many times.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
When I showed up at Mission Pro, I saw Brittani had like a stapled like sheet of notes. I'm like, oh, we're gonna get along just fine. This is great. I was so happy. I was like,
I think we all would. That's funny.
Oh my gosh. The notes in the notebook. Now that you guys mentioned commentary, so the card is subject to change. So how do you prepare for that? Like, how do you prepare to do commentary if you're not sure, especially if it's not as big of an indie show? Like, they are not as, because Women's Wrestling Talk has been around since 2017, and there's always new wrestlers coming out. There's way more schools now. People are, there's just a lot more female wrestlers. So, for the people that you don't know, and the card is changing, how do you prepare for that?
I would say, for me, I've definitely, as much, like, as soon as I know, I'm either if it's the day of and I'm at the show, I'm going directly to the person like, oh, hey, I hear you're going to be on the show. So, what do you want me to make sure that we get over for you? It could be, what are your move names? What do they look like? What's a signature of yours? Like, how would you describe your style? What's your background? Just, as much as I can get from them. If it is in the moment and it is happening and I'm like, hey, hang on, who's this person? Because that's happened also. I think that at the end of the day, we know wrestling. We know what story we're telling. And usually if the wrestlers are doing their job, which they always are, they're showing, hey, I'm the bad guy. Hey, you shouldn't like me. Or, hey, like everyone should be adoring me. You want to root for me. So depending on obviously what side of commentary you're on, it helps to kind of shape that direction for the story.
Yeah, it definitely, I've definitely had times where somebody has been doing a run-in or doing a moment and it wasn't on the run sheet, because that's another thing that's not always put on. Sometimes you're just given the list of matches. You're not given who's coming in to cut promos. You're not given who, if there's a special guest referee sometimes, or a stipulations match, or sometimes even if the match is a championship match. So, you find out when the ring announcer says it and you go, oh, okay, noted. I'm going to write that down right now, because apparently this is a 2 out of 3 falls match. Let's do that. So there's been sometimes where people have done run-ins and I'm just like, I don't know who that is. I have no clue who that is. And I'm just like, some crazy fan, or no, it must be somebody from this whatever. I don't. Yeah. And so it's one of those things of, it also helps, sometimes, like Alyssa said, you find out who is good and bad. Like, you see, if somebody's doing a run-in and beats the crap out of the baby face and is like helping out the bad, obviously you're going to be like, this is terrible. Like, this is a mess. I am just in shambles. I can't go on. But it's one of those things of, it also helps further the story if you don't even know, because it's one of those things of, how many times have you watched on a main product, like on WWE or anything like that, where people run in and they're like, who is that? Who is, to introduce somebody. So it's okay sometimes to not know. And sometimes it makes things more organic and more realistic in a way to be able to further that story. And that's what on commentary, we're the biggest storytellers of all. We are these storytellers. So it's definitely, it helps further that. So yeah, you always gotta be on your toes. And especially if your commentary table is anywhere close to the ring or even in the building, because then you might just have to run or leave your commentary partner there. I am so sorry.
That's okay.
Wait, what? What just happened?
We're gonna take that back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
And then what? Okay, so
it was right there.
If I'm thinking of what I think we're thinking of, it was Genocide versus Holodead, correct? Okay. So we knew that the match was going to be traveling, taking a little tour of, what was it, Pinball Kingdom?
Pinballs, yeah.
Yes. Yeah, we knew it was going to be.
Balls count anywhere?
I think so.
Okay.
Yes, it was.
Mm-hmm.
And we're set up at a table, and it's action's moving along. I'm watching, and I think there was something where our monitor was actually on the side, so we were kind of turned a little bit, and I just hear and like a nudge. I'm like, wait, what? And I just stand up, but it's already too late. And I'm like, I kind of squished myself on the side, I think.
And I'm gone.
Yeah, Brittany's out of there. I'm like, And I'm like making myself as flat as I possibly can against the wall. I'm like, I'm so sorry.
And I'm looking at her like from across the way, just staring like, she still has her headset on. I don't. I'm gone.
Yeah.
Like,
Look,
she's
fight or flight. Brittany was like,
I think that I explained, I'm like, well, I just felt so that I had to keep telling this story. I didn't want to abandon the post. I don't know.
Yeah.
You got to be aware of your surroundings. That's for sure.
Right. That's true. And also to any wrestlers listening, up and coming wrestlers, that's valid points that these ladies are talking about with commentary. Of course, if you're having a random run-in, that's obviously really who is that? Because who is that? You know, you just randomly came. But if it is something scheduled, a promo or whatnot, once you find out as the wrestler what you're doing, go tell the commentator, hey, I'm going to do a promo between match 3 and 4, and I'm going to talk about this, and the main point of it is this. So then they could back you up. Because, of course, they could gather that when you say it, but you literally, they help you, you know, make a name for yourself, really. They're your voice.
This true. I feel like in this era, I couldn't imagine. Kudos to the commentators and ring announcers like 10, 15 years ago when social media and all that stuff, or even the phone, like wasn't a thing. Like I don't even want to think about it. That's just a terrible thought to think of. Like I'm sorry to them. But speaking of, I don't know if you can talk too much about it, Alyssa. You were at WWE. You were doing stuff for them. What was because, you know, indie and the bigger promotions, WWE, AEW, Impact, two different beasts. So what was like your first, like when you got there, like what was the experience like?
I will say it was a lot of information, because I think that it was good that I had a background and understood what I was doing, but it was also bad that I had a lot of bad habits that I had, you know, picked up, whether it was the way that I was standing and presenting myself. I was used to being a little bit more, you know, more casual, because I was like, oh, we're just having fun, you know, whatever. But even as far as, you know, how I was presenting myself when I was just standing, you know, and having, you know, not letting my microphone drop or anything like that. So I just think that there were very small nuances that were really difficult to like stick, because everything felt so alien. Because it was like, wait, oh, right, okay, yeah, that's right, okay. But yeah, I think that overall it was a lot to learn and a lot to take in, but I'm very grateful for how patient everyone was while I figured it out. Because yeah, it was a lot of bad habits that I had to break. But it was really like interesting things, such as, you know, things I never really thought about, but I think I was doing to a degree, like, hey, this person's the heel. So in the tone of your voice, let it be a little more ominous. Let it be a little bit more gritty. If someone's, you know, the baby, if we want to like them, pick it up, make it cheery. I was like, oh my gosh, okay, yeah. Like that makes sense, but I never would have thought about that, because it is, right. And I think it was Ayla that said it, like, we're communicating to the audience, because a lot of time the audience can't hear the commentators unless they're watching a live stream, but we're communicating to the audience like, hey, here's how you're supposed to feel about this person. Trust me, you know, you don't like them. But yeah, it's just very, very interesting subtleties that, and honestly, Alicia Taylor, wonderful human. Yes. Fantastic. And taught me so much in a very short amount of time.
Didn't she do Santino Bros too, or no?
She did
she's from California.
Yeah, so she actually did, what was it called? Heavy Wrestle. So I would actually see her at a lot of shows in SoCal where she would do interviews with different, you know, legends in the business. And I don't think our paths ever crossed until I was here in Florida.
Wow.
Wild.
Well, there it is. Before we get out of here, see, like I said, 20 to 30 minutes, and now we're at 45. This is where we are. Before we get out of here, because I think we're from when you guys started to now, I feel like there's a lot more information out there. So maybe if you can give 1 or 2 tips to somebody who does want to do commentating and ring announcing, what would you suggest to them?
I would suggest
going to wrestling school. Probably.
I would love for more wrestling schools to actually do those kind of classes. Utilize any kind of good, you know, commentators or announcers that you have, and have them continue to teach on, because there is very, very, very few wrestling schools that actually have training for that. Like I said, I'm completely self-taught, but I've learned from every single person I've worked with, and I've learned, just like wrestlers learn from the person they work in the ring, commentators and announcers learn from every show or every person they work with. So I've learned a lot from a lot of people, including Alyssa here. And you know, it's one of those things of, if you can't find a school, just do your research. Find ring announcers who have made a mark in the business, who have become, listen to them. Do not copy, do not try to mimic. Find your own voice, but at least find that structure of like, okay, you know, introducing first, from, you know, that, find that kind of structure, because there's a lot of ring announcers out there that I hear, especially males, that try to sound like Bruce Buffer. This isn't MMA. I can't understand you when you sound like that. And just make sure that the audience and people can understand you, because we want people to know who these wrestlers are. We don't want you to go out there and scream and then the audience goes, okay, yeah, that random guy in the blue trunks, blue trunk guy, like, you know, like we don't need that. So yeah, just do your research and keep trying, and you're gonna mess up and you're gonna hate how you sound when you first start. But be open to criticism too. Be open to critiques. Be very, very open. Alyssa, you know, coming from NXT, she knows how brutal it is. I've had tryouts at NXT. And with Alicia, I know how brutal it can be, and I know how amazing you can learn from all the things. And I've learned so much from that woman. But just be open to critiques, because those will help you. Don't get upset.
I don't know if it's possible to like teach your skin to grow thicker, but if you can find a way, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got to. You have to.
Yeah. I think for me, one of the things that I had to learn, which is why I think it's so special to me, is especially with commentary, it is great to be prepared and to have all the notes in the world. Do not lose yourself in your notes to the point that you miss the action that's happening. This, I still to this day, I have pitfall moments where I'm like, crap, I got caught in my notes, because it's a comfort, you know, it really is. It's but there is a time and a place, and you learn that sense of timing, and you learn to trust your instincts. But I think at first, especially, just make sure that you are paying attention to what's happening in front of you and tell that story.
Definitely.
And Ayla?
I disagree with them. Like, literally, it's just telling the story, having the notes. I've literally had that happen where I'm like, okay, I know that maybe this crazy Hurricane Ron is going to come up, and they told me something about that, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, oh crap, damn it happened, you know. And then you're like, what's the point? But it's just, of course, you know, join a wrestling school. Obviously, look for one that probably has some type of training in it. I'm just going to say, if you're in Atlanta, WWT does. We do have, I don't know, Larry Legend. If people should know him if they're ringing out.
Love Larry.
Thinking about it. Yeah, but he's been there at Madison Square Garden with MMA. Obviously, he's done a lot of stuff with wrestling. So we have like tapes with him, giving pointers and just little things just picked up from here. Just like what you wouldn't think, tea, cough drops, those are literally things that you need that you're like, oh no, life is fine, you know? So it's like, definitely do that. And of course, how we went back to watching, you know, Justin Roberts and everyone back. Brandy Rose actually was one of the only few women that I found that had some type of vlog on her days of ring announcing. It's only like 5 minutes, but it was, she asked Justin Roberts questions, and I watched it, and, you know, just trying to pick up, you know, what we're saying, watch other shows to try to get the information ahead of time. How do people say stuff? But obviously don't like try to sound just like them, but follow your dreams.
There it is. We are approaching WrestleMania weekend, and I feel like this is, I mean, wrestling is all year round, but I feel like we're kind of, we're hitting a high point where you're seeing shows all over the place. I can't even keep track, and I'm just keeping track of the women ones. But where can people find you? Is there any promotions that people should look out for? All that good stuff.
I'll go first, I guess. We'll start all over. Definitely check out World Class. They're here in Texas, in Irving, Texas. Also Mission Pro. I'm going to be doing World Class, Mission Pro, and Reality of Wrestling. All WrestleMania weekend. I'll be on ring announcing and commentary for all the things. Reality of Wrestling is always great to do. We're actually, for WrestleMania, we're doing the Sherry Martel Classic, which is going to be all women's tournament that Reality of Wrestling and Booker T is putting on. Since Sherry was such a big staple in Book and Stevie and everybody's life, we're doing a whole thing, and they're going to have all the women from World Class and Reality Wrestling there. Mecha Wolf is also doing a show that I'm going to be doing called Ghouls Night Out. It's the 31st, so it's that Thursday. It's going to be a wrestling, heavy metal, and burlesque show. So there's going to be burlesque, there's going to be wrestling, and there's going to be his band, and a couple other bands are playing. So it's going to be a full kickoff to WrestleMania. Also, keep a watch out for my company, Elevate Pro. I'd be remiss if I didn't mention my own promotion. That would be terrible. I would be, but yeah, we'll be doing some shows in Louisiana now that things have opened back up, and the commission is now allowing us to run shows. I can run shows there. And then also I will be opening up Elevate Pro into Texas as well. So we are going to start running shows in Texas as well. So you might get a call from me, Alyssa, soon.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because that is fantastic. Congratulations.
When it's my own promotion, I got to run Gorilla and stuff, so I can't do. I need other people I can trust to do
your boss baby it.
Yeah, I got to run Gorilla and yell people's times and ears to be like, go home. So
and now I'm jealous because I just want to watch you do that. Like I want to observe Brittany in like boss lady mode. Yes.
It's a lot of internal screaming and then just trying not to show it. I'm calm.
Zenning it out.
Oh my Lord. For me, I am usually at West Coast Pro in San Francisco. They are fantastic. They are on IWTV. They have been wonderful and treating me like family since years ago when I stepped into their place for the first time, and they're like, hey, we don't have anyone to do commentary with you. You cool doing this by yourself? And I was like, yep. And since then, the rest is history. So yeah, definitely check out West Coast Pro. They're teaming up with Prestige Wrestling this weekend. They have a couple more partnerships coming up, which has been really, really cool. I'm usually at WWN promotion. So FIP this Sunday and Shine next month. I'll see you there, Ayla. That way, Ayla. I'm debuting for Combat Fights Unlimited, which is going to be really exciting. And I work remotely, actually, which is really cool, for CCW, Capital Championship Wrestling. I work with Ella J on commentary there. So that's been really, really cool. They're based in Delaware, but we get to connect remotely to call some cool matches. So
nice.
Anywhere I could be, just find me on social media, and I'm always promoting stuff. So,
and the cereal. Wait, don't you do cereal anymore?
Yeah, sorry. Let's Get Cereal. My show on YouTube. So I eat cereal and talk about stuff, and sometimes talk to people. So tune in for that and subscribe, please.
Definitely. And then you guys have, obviously, like I mentioned, the wrestling school. We have a free live stream and show on Thursdays for the training facility, to give the members and students live crowd experiences. And then we'll be at Shine together April. And then we have WrestleDex. I'm on this show called WrestleDex. It's a new promotion being ran by Amanda Rodriguez. That's actually happening in June. So it's like a women's promotion ran by women, like, Thunder Rosa started Mission Pro. It's going great. So I think she's probably inspired like a lot of women to like really step into the game. So that's awesome. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, I'm just excited for the future.
On the scroll?
Oh, why every time I forget about my own
Everyone's forgetting their shows.
It was my idea. I'm like, I want to do this show. We should link together. Like, it's not even like no one's forced. I want to do this, and I always forget. And every Monday at 3:00, I drop a show called On the Scroll, where I bring you the wrestling biz of the buzz that I see on social media from the women's wrestling. Sometimes it gets a little juicy. Sometimes it's a bit interesting. I think all the time, but I pop myself. So I'm like, if you see the views, I'm like definitely like 20% of them just watching it over.
Just watch
it's funny. The outtakes are hilarious. Like, I mean,
I'm glad you like it, because I don't know, you never know who does until you're like, 100 episodes in, and people are like, oh yeah, that girl, But
yeah, it's the consistency, but the outtakes. And your husband likes it too. Shout out to your husband for retweeting and tweeting. Like,
yeah,
nothing like husband love.
It.
There it is.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, ladies, so much for sharing your stories. I am excited. I mean, I think we're out of the pandemic. I don't know what's happening, but we're doing stuff. So that's great. We're not in our house. We're traveling. So thank you guys so much for hopping on and sharing your stories. Thank you guys for watching. You can follow us on everything at www.talkpod.com. All the shows are up there. You can go to our IG page, www.talkpod. On everything, all social media platforms. Actually, in the next 5 minutes, we're going to be doing the news. So just stay on YouTube or wherever you're watching.
They are Women's Wrestling Talk is always number one.
Love
Put
this.
out all hot news.
Yeah. Thank you. We have a huge team, so thank you guys. For watching, and we're doing a lot of stuff, and that's pretty much it. But I loved learning more about ring announcing because there's a lot of stuff that I didn't know, and I think I know for sure that's not what I want to do. So there is the lesson.
Yes.
There is the takeaway lesson for me. Do you want to ring last? No, but I can do a mean color commentating. I can do that. Play by play? No thanks. Color commentating. There it is. So Brittany, if you ever need somebody to do color, I'm your girl.
I got you. Yes.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you, Brittany, and thank you so much both for being here. Honestly, it was great all being together.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us on. It's great to see you.
Yeah, that was a great idea. TK ring announcements. Look at that.
Just
2022.
women doing amazing things. Well, there it is, folks. Till next time. Ciao.